And then we are back. It says we are live, but we are counting down.
We're hidden. It's the reveal.
Yes, it is the big reveal. That's how we
Where
do it
are
on the
we?
big show. The big show.
Ooh.
There it is. Look at that. Chris Harp. Great work on these backgrounds, buddy.
Mwah.
Magnifique. All right, let's go in 3, 2, 1. Football is back, and fantasy football is back. That's why we are here for you at Cecil, Lammey, Sigmund Bloom on the Audible with part one of the week one preview, starting with Seattle and Atlanta. And let's start with that Seattle side because, of course, you've got Russell Wilson, right? Of course, you've got Chris Carson for now. We'll see how Carlos Hyde mixes in there as well. Of course, you're looking at Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf in the tight end position with Greg Olsen. It's all going to be different. It's on the road, no fans. And certainly, that's going to be an adjustment. And if you talk to NBA players, I talked to Jazz forward Georges Niang last night, Bloom, and he said the no fans thing in the bubble means when you get in the zone, nothing can take you out of the zone.
Yeah.
So is Russell Wilson going to get in the zone against the Falcons in week one?
Yeah. I mean, the question is, will they let him get in the zone by letting him cook? He's cooking with a camp stove. He's not cooking with gas. This game feels like, well, first, this game could be an exciting game because it's another year and the NFC is wide open, right? Take your turn to win the Super Bowl, and then someone else gets their turn to win the Super Bowl. And remember, so many things have happened since last time we saw real football at counted. 7 teams make the playoffs now. Only one team gets a first round bye. So in the NFC, usually that's where we have a team that deserves to go to the playoffs that stays home. And these are teams that are in very tough divisions this year. Atlanta had that very strong finish to 2019, but then they saw Tom Brady join Tampa Bay. This game feels like a yawner, though. Doesn't this feel like a game, Cease, that both teams are going to want to run the ball like 40 times? And it'll be 13-10. But on the Seattle side, I'm excited to see DK Metcalf in year 2. And remember, they signed Josh Gordon. This is a deep wide receiver group now, and Atlanta secondary is a new look secondary. So good luck with that on the 20 Russell Wilson attempts. We'll see about Chris Carson's workload. Carlos Hyde is a very suitable guy. I mean, I know they didn't spend a first round pick on him like they did Rashad Penny, but Carlos Hyde is exactly that guy you want to take 10 or 12 carries a game, make it so that Chris Carson actually lasts until the playoffs. And remember, they got DJ Dallas there who beat out. Did Travis Homer beat out DJ Dallas in Miami? I think we could say that technically, right? DJ Dallas turns it around and beats out Travis Homer for the third down job. Lots of tight ends. Get over here. Will Dissly, Greg Olsen, Jacob Hollister. You're not going to play any of them. But, for the Atlanta defense, this is a defense that saved Dan Quinn's job. And it was when Raheem Morris, Jeff Ulbrich started calling the plays. They picked up Dante Fowler. They lost Devondre Campbell. So we'll see. This will be a test for them against a Seattle offense that has a lot of ways to beat you, but only one that the coaches like to do.
Only one the way the coaches like to do. By the way, Shane talking about the piped in crowd noise, Bloom.
Yeah.
When I was at the Broncos scrimmage on Friday night, and there was a woo guy in the crowd because it's just canned noise, right?
Right.
So this one guy is like, woo, woo, right? It's like just sound like a big choo-choo train. It's like the water boy. And it would always come after like a bad play. So, it was funny. You had the crowd and then you had the music and then like there'd be a bad play and there'd be one guy being like, woo.
Right.
And it's just the timing. It's just like on a loop. So you could just time it through.
Here's my idea, Steve. Here's my idea, Steve. If they put me on the controls, the crowd noise controls, you don't need constant crowd noise. What you need is the crowd noise to come in just as they're about to snap the ball. Whoa! Like the person who makes the noise just as you're about to do the backswing. Yeah, exactly. Just make it unpredictable. That's what's going to unnerve an opposing team, is if the crowd noise is unpredictable. You never know when it's just going to pop up from 0 to 100 decibels all at once and then back down. You're waiting, and then you're waiting for the next snap. It doesn't happen. And then the next snap it does. So mind games, head games, little foreigner,
I think Andrew comes through with the biggest question on the Falcons side. Which Gurley do we see? And if we're going to go off preseason reports, which is all we have, we're going to see a pretty good Todd Gurley. And it's kind of the Will Fuller thing, Bloom, that we talked about in the season kickoff special. is like, if you're not playing Will Fuller this week, when are you ever going to play him? With Todd Gurley, okay, sure, he's a running back too, but if you're not going to play him this week, you're going to have a window with Todd Gurley. Maybe it's 1 week, maybe it's 4 weeks, maybe it's 8 weeks. I doubt it's 16 weeks. That window starts now. So you have as healthy as you can be Todd Gurley in week 1 against Seattle. Yes, please. Julio Jones, can you score more touchdowns? Calvin Ridley coming through. How does Hayden Hurst look replacing Austin Hooper? And how do the Falcons respond at home against Seattle?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing other than Gurley is Hurst. We'll watch that. But with Gurley, yeah, his knee is going to feel as good as it does all year. Seattle made some pretty big additions on the defensive side in one Jamal Adams. And Jamal Adams is looking at Jalen Ramsey's contract this morning saying, yes, I would like to have that contract. Let's push the safety money up to that cornerback money. But is that going to help the running game that much? I don't know. We may see Jamal Adams in this game, by the way, as the Hayden Hurst stopper. So, that's going to be interesting to watch how they even use Jamal Adams, because there's all these different ways to use him. And Quentin Dunbar, who was a very important addition to the secondary, avoided those legal troubles as we saw DeAndre Baker get released. So the thing is, though, the soft underbelly of this Seattle defense is going to be the run defense. And they didn't do anything to improve it this offseason. So I do think you're going to see them test with Gurley. And then, we want to watch Hurst's volume. We're watching to see, is this the year that Calvin Ridley now pulls even with Julio Jones, which isn't any slight on Jones. It's just Ridley and his career arc. High. Russell Gage developing as a receiver, now as the slot receiver there. And this is the offensive line better. That's the thing. This whole offense could be better with those rookies last year, Caleb McGarry, Chris Lindstrom getting banged up. This year, do things come together? So, this is still an important game to sort out that pack. Or, it's a game that Cecil could look back week 16, week 17, football gods willing that we get there, as a tiebreaker game as we're seeing how the playoffs sort out. So, kind of important one, even though it's not a divisional game, for these teams to get it going.
Not a divisional game, but the next one is a divisional game, and it's the Jets and Buffalo. Can we quickly go through the Jets side? Because there's not a lot there. What's the Gore and Bell split look like? That's what I'm thinking about. Okay, Denzel Mims banged up, Rashard Perriman banged up, Louder with Crowder is going to do his thing. Sam Darnold, I'm not starting him. Right. So the Jets side is the least interesting side. Bloom, a couple of question marks. Couple things to watch, just nobody I'm starting or considering, really.
Yeah, the Jets are a comedy unless you're a Jets fan or a Jets player. This game, expectations, remember, these teams met week 1 last year, and it was a back and forth street fight, not a high scoring street fight, but a street fight nonetheless, until CJ Mosley got hurt, and then Josh Allen did his thing at the end of the game. But okay, Bills, you want to take this division over, you want to talk Super Bowl, you got to be able to dispense with this Jets team, partially because that offensive line. Whoa, this is not a year to be rebuilding your offensive line, and poor Sam Darnold behind that line, and Adam Gase and all his effects. But yeah, what we're going to watch here, so if you drafted Le'Veon Bell, what did you get? See, if you drafted Le'Veon Bell, you want him to play, 30 snaps as a wide receiver, 35 snaps as a wide receiver, all of them, because who are they going to play at wide receiver? Remember, players coming into this week, not 100%, expect coaches to rotate them. Of course, I'm not sure who you rotate Rashard Perriman with at this point, because Chris Hogan is maybe the next best outside receiver they have. All of the targets for Jamison Crowder and Chris Herndon. So you're looking at DFS perspective here, you would say, and also Chris Herndon and Jamison Crowder, shorter targets, dink and dunk targets. So we'll see what they can do. Again, watching Rashard Perriman in that knee, but this is not a week you want to start him, not against this secondary. Is the Buffalo defense the number 1 defense this week? There's some other contenders, but remember, we've got Ed Oliver, who avoided any league discipline because indeed he was kind of set up. And they added Mario Addison, they added Quentin Jefferson. These are some nice pass rushing pieces there. So yeah, this is going to be a game that if it's not one you want to turn off by the third quarter, the Bills have some questions. Yeah,
the Bills do have some questions, and fantasy GMs are going, okay, how do you look with Stephon Diggs? Is there better accuracy from Josh Allen? There needs to be, because short, intermediate, and deep accuracy is awful. Pass placement is awful for Josh Allen. And I like Josh Allen, but are we going to tell the truth on this show, or are we just going to cover our eyes and be like, he's fine? He's
Yeah.
totally fine. He's got that big arm. He's got a wild say it, don't spray it accuracy. The backfield, Zach Moss. How legit is that guy? And then how does it cut in with Devin Singletary? Does Dawson Knox stay healthy? Bills are much more interesting side here with some things to shake through.
Yeah, and the Jets should be able to stop the run. I mean, that's the one thing the Jets care about, right? So you still should play Zach Moss. And the Zach Moss, Devin Singletary split is going to be something that could change from game to game. But we have to assume in games that we expect the Bills to control the game, it's a Zach Moss game. It's a Zach Moss game at the goal line. Remember, that could take some of the edge off of the upside of Josh Allen if Moss is converting at the goal line because Gore wasn't last year. Enter Josh Allen to clean up with a rushing touchdown. Singletary maybe not having as impressive a summer as Moss. I think they're excited to roll Moss out there. It could be one of those games where Moss has 17 carries for 50 yards, but 2 touchdowns, and 3 catches for 18 yards or something like that. So Moss over Singletary in this one. Allen, you probably don't want to play because, again, you don't expect this to be a high-scoring game or Allen's having to throw a lot. But Cease, you're right in that you're looking for the efficiency and accuracy. So maybe Allen only has to throw the ball 18 times in this game. So it's that much more important than when Stephon Diggs is breaking free. Could name a Jets corner, any Jets corner. I mean, when he's breaking free from whoever it is that is on him, Allen has to hit that, even if they don't need it to win this game. John Brown, Cole Beasley, pick your poison here if you're the Jets secondary. It's the confidence. They need the confidence that Josh Allen. So this is a team that's moving from we're happy to win to we expect to win. So it isn't as much of a heroic story when Josh Allen can overcome things for them to hang in and win at the end of the game. They should be able to cruise when the play works as designed and someone's breaking free. Allen needs to be efficient more for games in January than this game. The Jets traded away Jamal Adams. C.J. Mosley opted out. It's bleak. It's bleak when the Jets are on the field. Jets fans, I think the fan base we feel the most sorry for now at this point. Washington has some things to be excited about. The Jags at least have Gardner Minshew. That's fun. What's fun about rooting for the Jets?
What's fun about rooting for the Bears? That's the thing. That's the next game up. Mitchell Trubisky's your starter. Again, does he even make it through this game? Chicago at Detroit is next up in the Week 1 preview, part 1 here on the Audible. And let's start with those Bears because huge question marks abound, not only about Trubisky, but that rushing attack with David Montgomery banged up.
Yeah, I mean, this is just my brain is searching for an analogy here, Cease, that you're making Mitchell Trubisky the starter. I mean, I don't know, Cease. It's like you've gone to marriage counseling for years and nothing has changed. And now you're going to, spend a bunch of money on a vacation and expecting it to be happy. It's not going to be happy. This isn't going to be a happy story. We know how the Bears Trubisky story goes.
Well, how many times is a vacations? I always get worried about this, Bloom.
Right.
Because I got buddies among buddies like, hey, we're going on vacation. And then when they come back, we're getting a divorce.
Or exactly. Or it's like let's have another baby to save our marriage,
Right.
I mean, the baby here is the 2020 season. And look, Michael Lombardi is really great because he's been there, done that around this league for a long time. So when he describes the situation, and the why. And see, so I know there's things you can't say specifically, but you can nod along when we say the why behind football. This isn't always something that you say is wise management of a team. And Lombardi said back in like July or early August that Trubisky has to start week 1 because he has no confidence. And if he is beaten out by Foles and Foles starts week 1, then you can officially end the Trubisky era, which a lot of people are saying, well, we should have done that a long time ago. But that's not how this team is going to operate. They're going to give him one more chance because even if it's 0.0001% chance that it works, the only way that happens is to give him the week 1 start. And the line said, yes, make the week 1 start, Trubisky. So, if you're looking for a rented defense, someone to pick up for this week and play, maybe you want the Lions. Who's going to run the ball? Sees David Montgomery's coming in with his groin injury. They listed Cordero Patterson as a wide receiver after having him work out with the running backs. Is it the wrecking Knoll? Is it Mitchell Trubisky to Tariq Cohen throwing the ball short a lot, and that's their running game? I don't know. If it's David Montgomery, maybe that's not a good thing. Maybe he aggravates the groin injury. We'll watch practice participation there. You don't want to dabble in this running game, except maybe Cohen in a PPR league. What about the passing game? Well, it's Mitchell Trubisky. I mean, you're going to play Allen Robinson because you drafted him to start for your team. Anthony Miller stays on your bench. Watch out for Darnell Mooney if he can get in the Taylor Gabriel role. Not so much for fantasy, but as a reveal. Maybe it's Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham with 7 catches for 70 yards when the dust settles on everyone's bench or on the waiver wire. Because Detroit Lions defense, welcome Jamie Collins. Welcome Danny Shelton. Welcome Desmond Trufant. I know they let Darius Slay go. We'll see about Jeffrey Okudah and how ready he is for prime time. But the Lions defense has the advantage of going in against a team that, how can you be excited when Mitchell Trubisky is your quarterback? You can't. You can when Matthew Stafford's your quarterback.
Yes, and Matthew Stafford, just please stay healthy.
Right.
Last year was on a tear. So start that tear again. You're going up against the Bears. You should be able to do that. The questions for the Lions really are in the backfield. Okay, and there's a question about Hawkinson, right? Can Hawkinson stay healthy and then be like he was in week 1 last year? But now Adrian Peterson there with Kerryon Johnson. That's the part of the Lions stew that I'm wondering what's in this.
Yeah, and in the backfield, you're wondering what's in it. You're wondering, it's like when they pull off the big silver lid on the plate. Is it going to be Adrian Peterson? Is it going to be Kerryon Johnson? Is it going to be DeAndre Swift? Is it going to be all 3 here? So there's a chance that Peterson could start. There's a chance that Peterson could lead this team in carries, and we know that Peterson's going to play pretty well. And I suppose with the Bears pass rush, remember, they have Robert Quinn now to go along with Khalil Mack. Maybe you want to run anyway. That's what Matt Patricia wants to do. But you have Matthew Stafford, and you have Matthew Stafford against one outside corner that's going to be Buster Screen. And I'm not even sure here. You have Kyle Fuller, but otherwise, maybe this could be a big Marvin Jones game because you think you put your best corner on Kenny Golladay here. But maybe TJ Hawkinson's the guy that, remember, week 1 last year, massive breakout game, didn't really follow it up. And see, this is that glass half full, glass half empty, right? Because on one hand, TJ Hawkinson got 7 red zone targets in the first 5 games last year. That's a ridiculous amount. So that's good, right? Matthew Stafford's going to look to him in the red zone. Good. On the other hand, he only converted 1 for a touchdown. Maybe that's not good. We'll see if TJ Hawkinson can start to live up to that number 8 overall pick. Also, by the way, cheers to Taylor Decker, who got a big contract that locked him up. So a lot of teams looking to the future, making sure to commit to these players now. Matthew Stafford, it's good to see him back out there. So like you said, we want to see him back out there. And hey, this NFC North division is pretty wide open. So the Lions, Matthew Patricia wants to make some success getting that divisional win to start off the season against the Bears team without really a quarterback is a good way to start.
A couple of quarterbacks abound in Green Bay at Minnesota. I'm mad at Kirk Cousins for wanting Creed to get back together, which they probably are going to do. Thanks to Kirk Cousins. I'll save that for a little bit later rant, but let's talk Packers side as they travel to Minnesota. And Green Bay, okay, rinse, repeat. Aaron Rodgers, do what you do, please. Devontae Adams come through in a big way. We'll be watching for the tight end. I guess I'm not starting the Packers tight end, but I'm watching that situation. Maybe there's some waiver wire help there. And then, we're probably going to see Aaron Jones paid pretty soon, Bloom, unless that happened this morning. I don't know. I just rolled out of bed.
Right.
And started doing the show. So let's talk Packers and Vikings next.
Yeah, another divisional matchup, which is good to see. So, we have the AFC East with 2 divisional matchups. We have the NFC North with 2 divisional matchups. Last year, Green Bay handled Minnesota pretty easily. And that aligns with a good game for Aaron Jones, who still is the number 1. So after A.J. Dillon in his thighs, you could also...
He's number 3 on the depth chart, by the way.
Right. So it's an Aaron Jones game. And Minnesota does have new cornerbacks, 3 of them, but they also have a new defensive end to replace Everson Griffin, Yannick Ngakoue. And we'll have to watch Danielle Hunter and his issue that's kept him out. Devontae Adams is going to get his. Marcus Valdez-Scantling had a bit of a redemption summer, so we'll watch targets of Lazard versus Valdez-Scantling maybe on a deep shot or 2 as the run game sets that up. Mentioned Robert Tonyan being ahead of Jace Sternberger, but I think based on how these games went last year, based on what Green Bay wants to do every week, It's going to be an Aaron Jones week. It's going to be coloring inside of the lines, not Aaron Rodgers making things happen. Aaron Rodgers making things happen off of play action passing. If you want this to be a big Aaron Rodgers game, Cease, you need it to be a big game for the Minnesota offense, but can they do it against the Green Bay pass rush? It's looking pretty good.
Against the Green Bay pass rush, it's looking pretty good. And against, well, the Vikings offense, which we already know what we're going to get from the ground game. What we don't know is how's a guy like Justin Jefferson going to look? How does the split look now? Are we going to see more of Irv Smith to be more fantasy relevant in that tight end group? Certainly got that talent. And when we look at Jefferson Thielen, Jefferson's a slot guy, but Thielen's already there. So there's complications. Desean Jackson, maybe a sneaky what the heck flex play. Let's talk about this Viking side and what's new and what's not new.
Yeah, it's Kirk Cousins maybe throwing more than we expected. Because again, if Minnesota can't slow down Green Bay's running game and Green Bay gets out to a lead, then Cousins is going to have to pass more. However, that Green Bay pass rush, remember last year we got Preston Smith, Zadarius Smith, the Smith brothers, really turning this into a tough draw in terms of pass rush. Now you have first-round pick Rashawn Gary. Remember, he came in last year as a first-round pick with that torn labrum. So they knew he wasn't going to have as much of an impact. A lot of good things coming out of there this summer. Plus they got Kenny Clark, who they signed to a long-term deal. So could be teeing off on Kirk Cousins. At least Minnesota worked things out with Riley Reif, so they're not reshuffling their offensive line right before the season. That's bad. Dalvin Cook did not get a good new deal. So he's like, again, I'm not, maybe it happened right now, but I don't think so. Still, Cook, the offense is going to run through him. And I'm not saying bench Cook, even though Green Bay had a good time against Minnesota last year, because Cook was good in those games, or in the first game at least. Adam Thielen's going to get all the targets, and as you said, Cease, maybe the most interesting fantasy storyline here is who gets the targets after Thielen. Is it Irv Smith maybe getting some more looks outside? Is it Desean Jackson? Is it Justin Jefferson, who didn't have an impressive summer, but when the lights go on and he gets on the field, maybe in some 3-wide sets, we see some more from him? Maybe is it boring old Kyle Rudolph, who's still there and still officially the starter at tight end? A lot's going to be on Kirk Cousins' shoulders. And again, we're looking at Minnesota's offense and defense interconnectedness, right? If the defense with the pass rush hides the new cornerbacks, then they can continue to have a low volume pass offense. If the vulnerable cornerbacks are a problem, remember they also lost Linval Joseph, their best run stuffer. So if the opposing offense has their way, Minnesota's defense isn't as scary. Now Kirk Cousins has to pass more, and those questions about who the number 2 target become a lot more interesting. Minnesota, it wasn't that long ago, Cease. They were knocking on the door of the Super Bowl. Now Mike Zimmer got his extension, but will it look wise? Is this team's arrow pointing down, or are they still hanging around?
You want to look wise? Well, how about saying hello to your new favorite place to play fantasy football for real money? It's Underdog Fantasy. With Underdog, all you need to do is the fun part, draft. Forget about the injuries, trades, waivers, and setting lineups. Just set it, forget it, and wait for the winnings to come in. This year, they have a $1 million tournament. That's right. Just draft the best team, and you have a shot at $1 million in prizes. Sign up for Underdog today and enter the Best Ball Mania for a chance at $1 million in prizes by going to UnderdogFantasy.com or searching for Underdog Fantasy in your app store. That's UnderdogFantasy.com. And be sure to enter the code FBG after you make your first deposit.
And if that's not enough for you, because right now, I get it. Fantasy football's here. It snuck up on you. Calendar's been different than usual. You want to get in the main event. FFPC main event entries are $100 off for your first entry right now. It's our favorite high stakes event. They've hosted the Football Guys Player Championship for years, so you can trust FFPC. For a limited time, you get $100 off if you enter the promo code FBG100, a record $500,000 grand prize. $3.9 million in total prizes. So go there at ffpc.com. The main event, promo code FBG100, and you get $100 off.
All right, back to the previews. We got 3 games left in part 1 of the week 1 preview, and it's Miami, New England. This one, the divisional matchup in the AFC East. The Miami side is first. We know it's going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick. We know that Devontae Parker is back at practice. Preston Williams is feeling pretty good, although he'll be a year from that injury. in week 8. So, to be feeling pretty good at this point is a good sign for Preston Williams. The backfield is interesting with Howard as the banger, with Breida as the backup. So how does it play out against this new look New England, which we'll have plenty to talk about when we get to the Pats?
Since we had the kickoff special with Houston and KC, we talked about the last time we saw these two teams play. How about the last time we saw Miami and New England play? As that was the game that knocked down the shield that allowed the Death Star to be blown up in week 1 of the playoffs. And indeed, we don't see Tom Brady as part of this game. And this is, mentor mentee with Brian Flores and Bill Belichick. Maybe we often see Belichick, sometimes, I don't want to say he takes it easy on his disciple Cease, but sometimes they will soundly beat the Patriots. Great rematch here. On the Miami side, remember we got Chan Gailey here. Fitzmagic starting week 1. Again, condolences to him on the loss of his mother. But this is a New England defense that lost all 3 of their starting linebackers. One of them's on the Miami now, Kyle Van Noy. Dante Hightower opted out. Jamie Collins, we talked about already, in Detroit. So you have a secondary. What about the run defense? They lost Danny Shelton, also in Detroit. Miami, I hear, loves their offensive line. They love the rookies. Austin Jackson and Solomon Kindley. Maybe this is better. It's got Eric Flowers. See, what do you want Eric Flowers doing? Hit that guy right in front of you. Yeah, exactly. Knock that guy back on his ass right in front of you. Please don't get on your heels and pass protect. Is this a Jordan Howard game? Is this a game where you go out and say, let's run Jordan Howard until they show they can stop it, and then every now and then put Matt Breida out there because the pace, true change of pace. You're trying to push and hold the line. A weak front 7 for the Patriots, and Howard's just pushing you down and constantly into 3rd and 2, and then you put Breida in there, pew, pew, like the Roadrunner. Got New Mexico on the mind. Got to see Bob Harris this weekend too. That was fantastic.
I saw that.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, and then the other thing is, what's the passing game look like, okay? And it was Brian Flores who gave us the heads up. I think that all 32 teams are going to look at any player coming in, not 100%, will probably be in some sort of rotation. Well, if Brian Flores is saying that, we're thinking Devontae Parker, who's got a sleeve on his leg, was on the bike for summer training camp, and Preston Williams coming in off the ACL. So, we're probably going to see some Isaiah Ford. We're going to see some Jakeem Grant. We're going to see Matt Breida as a receiver probably. We're going to see some Mike Gesicki, who is still going to be prominent in the pass offense, even though he wasn't the number 1 tight end. See, that's Dalton Schultz. And again, what does that tell you? Dalton Schultz, number 1 tight end. We're going to run the ball. Even though we want to see Fitzmagic doing his thing, I think you're going to see a balanced Miami offense. I think you're going to see a lot of Jordan Howard, and we'll see if Lynn Bowden gets in after that. Again, this team gave up a 2nd-round pick for Josh Rosen, so I think they're like, hey, he was a 3rd-round pick. We can get him for bumping a 6-2, a 4th. Let's try it. Hey, what the heck? Why not? But I think with New England, the secondary is the strength, so you're not going to want to test the secondary enough. I expect Flores to take this one, very tactically to the brink, as they did it last time we saw them, and to show that, they feel like they can be the equal of the Patriots now, and they might be.
And the Patriots are Cam Newton's going to be throwing to who? Lots of James White doing his Christian McCaffrey impression. Okay. Sonny Michel's okay enough, I guess. Damian Harris isn't. We know that. So Patriots, a lot of mysteries here. Julian Edelman, James White, feel good about that. Then it's mystery soup after that.
And let's go all the way back to the last time we saw Cam Newton's debut for a team. As a rookie, he had a horrible preseason. Horrible. And lots of reports coming out that he wasn't exactly sharp in training camp. Does he do the big, I got you, I'm still Superman? I don't know. Remember, this is a Miami team that got Byron Jones in the offseason. So now they have 2 good outside corners, but again, he's to cover who? What does it matter? Ooh, you took away N'Keal Harry and Damiere Byrd, who, you want to Hail Mary in a DFS GPP. Damiere Byrd would be interesting just because he does have the background with Cam Newton. A 4-headed backfield. J.J. Taylor, welcome to the active roster. You're probably going to play some Dion Lewis to his game. James White, as you said, if you're going to play any back this week from the Patriots backfield, it is James White. Cam Newton feeding Christian McCaffrey to his first 100-catch season the last time those 2 guys were together. You also have some Sonny Michel, but again, eased in eased in, so Rex Burkhead is still there. N'Keal Harry, we want to watch, not to play this week, and it's a tough matchup for N'Keal Harry. However, we did see Cam Newton and his willingness to throw contested catch balls to Kelvin Benjamin make Kelvin Benjamin actually fantasy relevant. So it's just up to N'Keal Harry to do his thing at the catch point. Probably it's going to be a ton of Julian Edelman and probably even more Cam Newton improvising. Cam Newton playing outside of structure because I don't know that the structure is going to look too good. Cease, is it me or is the Patriots roster not that impressive? This team, not happening. So Miami, you come out of the gate strong and you can make a statement right away.
Make a statement right away. We got 2 games to go in part 1 of the week 1 preview, and I got 15 minutes till I talk to Mike Vrabel. So we should be good, Bloom. Let's talk Philly and Washington next. In Philly side, it's like, okay, who's healthy to catch passes? Because it's not Jalen Reagor. Is it really Alshon Jeffrey? We don't know. What about Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert and that split? And then what's the health status of Miles Sanders? So it's just kind of like a health check if we're talking about the Eagles right now.
It is a health check. And you have 2 starters down on the offensive line. So Matt Pryor's going to start at guard. It does sound like Jason Peters is going to start at left tackle, but this was not the plan. The plan was Brandon Brooks and Andre Dillard and Lane Johnson day to day. So you're facing Washington's defensive line. Welcome Chase Young. Who are you more excited to watch week 1? See, Joe Burrow or Chase Young? That's tough. I mean, those guys are both guys that they make watching football more fun every week, unless you're an Eagles fan, unless you're a guy trying to block Chase Young. So Chase, indeed, for one Carson Wentz. And this is that test, right? What matters more, coverage or the pass rush? Because Carson Wentz is going to be running for his life. But if he can find somebody who's covering for Washington, not much. Quite an interesting thing here because Desean Jackson, remember, had 2 touchdowns, huge game week 1 last year. Can he do it again this year? He's healthy. Again, if you're not playing Desean Jackson this week without Jalen Reagor out there against this Washington corner group that he went off last year, you're probably not going to play him. Although they did get Kendall Fuller back. No one else to play in this wide receiver group, although J.J. Arcega-Whiteside with his redemption tour. John Hightower, Boise State, had a good camp. Maybe he is a rookie who makes an immediate impact. Reagor could return soon. And what about the backfield? Miles Sanders absolutely is a guy we think of as week 1, even though you drafted him to be maybe your number 1 running back, maybe you don't play him. You see some Boston Scott and Corey Clement. I feel like it has just totally gone unnoticed, Cease, that Corey Clement is back, like really back. They love him. And they claimed Jason Huntley. I think that was more of a let's see what happens here. So I think you could see Corey Clement have a tremendous game. I'm not saying to play him, again, maybe a DFS Hail Mary. Probably it's going to be a lot of Zach Ertz and Dallas Goedert and maybe even Greg Ward because I think Carson Wentz, he's asking for trouble. If you're seeing play calls from this offense where you're asking him to hold the ball for more than 3 seconds, you're just asking for trouble. Get it out quickly. That's Ertz. That's Goddard. And maybe a little Greg Ward.
Is this Ryan Kerrigan's final game with Washington before Denver trades for him?
Oh, well.
We'll see. They got to do something, man. The Von news is
sad.
There's a dark cloud over Denver. It's called Von Miller missing the year. It's a Broncos show, even though we're not talking about him. Let's talk about Washington's side and McLevin, of course, in that backfield, and Dwayne Haskins as the starter. And going forward, the backfield's the interesting part to me because there's so many assets. I love Antonio Gibson. I hated that he went there. And then they, get rid of Darius Geis. They move on from Adrian Peterson. Now all of a sudden it's looking a little clearer for Gibson there. Bryce Love is there. J.D. McKissick is the first on the depth chart. Okay. So Washington, I've got some stock in some Washington football team players. I want to see how it performs on Sunday.
Yeah, last year we saw Terry McLaurin have an incredible debut with Case Keenum. He should have had a second long touchdown in that game. And Darius Slay, he beat Darius Slay repeatedly when he faced Darius Slay last year. So don't worry about Terry McLaurin getting open against Darius Slay. That's going to happen. Worry about Dwayne Haskins against a pretty good defensive line. Remember, they added Javon Hargrave, a Steeler that we're going to miss, although get Stephon Tuitt back. This isn't a Steelers moment. That's in part 2 during Monday night. But certainly, Dwayne Haskins going to face a good pass rush, going to face a good defensive line. Not so much of a great offensive line in front of him. So we'll see if he can hook up with Terry McLaurin. But if you drafted McLaurin, you're going to play him as your third receiver or flex. Steven Sims should get a lot of targets. Excited to see Logan Thomas. Oh, yeah, it's happening, Cease. It's coming together for Logan Thomas. But it is the backfield that is the most compelling story here. And again, also with Scott Turner calling the shots, probably some more passing here. Dontrell Inman is going to start. Philadelphia has some suspect linebackers. So, again, maybe Logan Thomas. But it is about the backfield. And here's what we can say about Antonio Gibson. Okay, Cease. And you can agree or disagree with me. Like, let's say over the last 5 or 10 years, would Antonio Gibson rank in the top 10 most exciting players to watch when you're watching college tape?
Yes.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right? I mean, I get it. 77 touches. So this is where some of these models are going to break down. He only got 77 touches. What does that mean? Why wasn't he playing more? He's a really special physical talent, okay? And Washington obviously loved him, obviously. And he's going to get his chance to put his stamp on this backfield. See, what did we talk about comparing him to David Johnson? David Johnson had to wait for a Chris Johnson injury. Washington straight up just released Adrian Peterson. There's no waiting. And if Gibson can be what they think he can be, he's leaving everything in its wake. Now, you have to understand, of course, without all this experience, maybe the speed of the game and everything, this is a lot harder. But he's going to get the opportunity to be the breakout running back of the year. And this is a guy that had Adrian Peterson, none other than Adrian Peterson, say he's hell of a talent and they want one guy. Adrian Peterson said this. They want one guy and they think he's going to be that guy. Okay? This is somebody who was there practicing with the team. So it's not, if you're still drafting, it's not too early to take him in the 5th round. It's not too early to take him in the 4th round. If you don't believe in him, don't take him. But if you do believe in him, Washington does too. You've got company. I'm really excited to see what he does.
And where did I get him in Fessel OG?
like 10th round, 12th round.
Yeah,
it made up for your Fournette pick.
Oh. I waited on running back. Let's not wait to get this final game in. Should be able to do it. Vegas and Carolina, Bloom. Let's do this one a little tighter.
Yeah.
Let's do Vegas side first.
Fun, Derek Carr, Marcus Mariota's on IR, so he's got the offensive line. No Tyrell Williams, so you're more inclined to, in the big reveal, play a Henry Ruggs, play a Bryan Edwards, play a Darren Waller. Of course, you drafted him to be a starter. You're happy with that. Hunter Renfrow has a path to more targets now, maybe some relevance. And Josh Jacobs. Maybe the biggest story here is Josh Jacobs getting more targets, getting more involved in the passing game against an entirely new look Carolina defense. So if the Raiders offense doesn't look good in this game, it's going to be a long year.
Carolina side now, I think it's going to be more exciting. Teddy Bridgewater is one of my sleeper quarterbacks for the season. And just that Matt Rule mesh with him, of course, with Robbie there, with DJ Moore there, some guy named Christian McCaffrey. Again, think of your split stocks, Bloom. Think of your micro shares.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have Christian McCaffrey because you didn't have the number 1 overall pick, but you can't have Teddy Bridgewater who's going to do this, 10 times a game to Christian McCaffrey. So, yes, please. Give me some of that Carolina offense at home.
Yeah, some alignment here between Teddy Bridgewater's skill set and hot zone. Joe Brady, remember, made that offense for Joe Burrow in LSU last year and has worked with Bridgewater in New Orleans. And then they add the wide receiver talent in Robbie Anderson. Of course, they also still have McCaffrey and Samuel and DJ Moore. This is an exciting, fun Raiders defense. A lot of young, ascendant talents. And guys they're getting back, like Jonathan Abram. Damon Arnett is probably going to start week 1. So lots of fun here. This could be a wild and woolly, like an AFL kind of game here. See, I'm just excited. Let's take a moment. Let this breathe. Let's take a moment. It's 2020 and Teddy Bridgewater has a team. That's his team. Maybe it's only 2020, but you're covering Von Miller and that freak practice injury, and certainly that's sad. It's just not as fun to cover the Broncos if Von Miller is not out there and not there in the locker room. But it's a wonderful, there is some fairness in the universe, Cecil, if here we are in 2020 and Teddy Bridgewater is a week 1 starting quarterback with a chance to put his imprint on a franchise. So I'm excited for that. And against this matchup, he could be one of the best 5-7 fantasy quarterbacks this week. McCaffrey, DJ Moore should get a ton of targets. Ian Thomas is banged up, by the way, so that helps if you're looking down the ticket at someone like Curtis Samuel or Robbie Anderson's to take a chance with them. Offensive line has some new wrinkles. So, this is a game, I think, for the Panthers, you're playing on house money, top 5 pick anyway. You want to just get something good going, some underdog energy. For the Raiders, though, it's time for John Gruden to show that he can get this team pushing in the right direction, and this is a game they should handle easily if that's the case.
Yeah, Andrew's talking about watching the clock for the Vrabel interview. He's not going to say anything. I already know that. I mean, I want to obviously not miss the interview, but it's like, I just know. I mean, you're not going to get much out of Mike Vrabel.
How great is it to see Steven Gostkowski again? You guys go way back, right?
It's good. I mean, he will be like a two-answer guy, a two-word guy.
What was the secret to everything you got out of Jadeveon Clowney back in Houston, and how excited are you to have him in Tennessee?
Ryan Tannehill, more like Ryan Tannegod, am I right, huh? Anyway, that is a wrap. Make sure to do all the YouTube things, like, comment, share, subscribe, and help us grow this channel. Certainly our iTunes numbers and our downloads for the audio version of this podcast are incredible, just mind-blowing, really. So thank you guys very much for making us the Audible and making us part of your day. That's a wrap for part 1 of the Week 1 preview here on the Audible. We'll be back tomorrow morning. I'll be back in my home studio because it's snowstorm apocalypse in Denver. So I'll be back in my home studio for part 2 of the Week 1 preview, and I will be there for Thursday Night Live show. Everyone stay tuned for that. He's Sigmund. I'm Cecil. Thanks for watching and listening, everybody. Stay tuned and stay frosty.